Section 20 of the Best Short Stories of 1917. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Doreen Marcotte. The Best Short Stories of 1917 by Various. Get Ready the Wreaths, Part 1 by Fannie Hurst from the Cosmopolitan magazine. Where St. Louis begins to peter out into brick and limestone kilns and great scars of unworked and overworked quarries, the first and more unpretentious of its suburbs take up. Benson, Maplehurst, and Ridgeway Heights, intervening with one-story brick cottages and two-story packing cases, between the smoke of the city and the carefully parked Queen Anne quietude of Glenwood and Croton Grove. Over Benson hangs a white haze of limestone, gritty with train and foundry smoke. At night, the lime kilns, spotted with white deposits, burn redly, showing through their open doors like great, inflamed, diphtheritic throats, tongues of flame bursting and licking out. Winchester Road, which runs out from the heart of the city to string these towns together, is paved with brick, and its traffic, for the most part, is the great tin-tired dump carts of the quarries and steel interurban electric cars, which hum so heavily that even the windows of outlying cottages titillate. For blocks, from Benson to Maplehurst and from Maplehurst to Ridgeway Heights, Winchester Road repeats itself in terms of the butcher, the baker, the corner saloon, a feed store, a monument and stone cutter, a confectioner, a general merchandise store with a glass case of men's collars outside the entrance, the butcher, the baker, the corner saloon. At Benson, where this highway cuts through, the city wreathes in smoke, and a great oceanic stretch of roofs are in easy view, and at closer range, an outlying section of public asylums for the city's discard of its debility and its senility. Jutting a story above the one-storied march of Winchester Road, the convenience merchandise corner, Benson, overlooks from the southeast upstairs window a remote view of the city hospital, the Ferris wheel of an amusement park, and on clear days, the oceanic waves of roof. Below, within the store, that view is entirely obliterated by a brace of shelves built across the corresponding window and brilliantly stacked with ribbons of a score of colors and as many widths. A considerable flow of daylight thus diverted, the convenience merchandise corner, even of early afternoon, fades out into half-discernible corners. A rear wall display of overalls and striped denim coats crowded back into indefinitude. The haberdashery counter, with a giant gilt shirt stud suspended above, hardly more outstanding. Even the notions and the dry goods, flanking the right wall in stacks of bolts, merge into blur, the outline of a white sateen and corseted woman's torso surmounting the topmost of the shelves with bold curvature. With spring sunshine even hot against the steel rails of Winchester Road, and awnings drawn against its inroads into the window display, Mrs. Sheila Koblenz, routing gloom, reached up tiptoe across the haberdashery counter for the suspended chain of a cluster of bulbs, the red of exertion rising up the taut line of throat and lifted chin. "A little light on the subject, Milt." "Let me, Mrs. C." Facing her from the outer side of the counter, Mr. Milton Bower stretched also, his well-pressed, pin-checked coat crawling up. All things swam out into the glow. The great suspended stud, the background of shelves and boxes, the scissors-like overalls against the wall, a clothesline of children's factory-made print frocks, a center bin of women's untrimmed hats, a headless dummy beside the door, enveloped in a long-sleeved gingham apron. Beneath the dome of the wooden stud, Mrs. Sheila Koblenz, of not too fulsome but the hourglass proportions of 2 decades ago, smiled, her black eyes ever so quick to dart, receding slightly as the cheeks lifted. $2.25, Milt, for those ribbed assorted sizes and reinforced heels. Leave or take." Bergdorf and Sloane will quote me the whole meal at that price." With his chest across the counter and legs out violently behind, Mr. Bauer flung up a glance from his order pad. "Have a heart, Mrs. C. I'm getting $2.40 for that stocking from every house in town. The factory can't turn out the orders fast enough at that price. An up-to-date woman like you mustn't make a noise like before the war. Leave or take? You could shave an egg," he said. "And rush up those printed lawns. There was 2 in this morning, sniffing around for spring amenities. Any cotton goods? Next month this time, you'll be paying an advance of 4 cents on percales. Stocked. Can't tempt you with them wash silks, Mrs. C. Neatest little article on the market today. No demand. They finger it up, and then buy the cotton stuffs. Every time I forget my trade hack's frock instead of clip bonds for spending money, I get stung. This here wash silk, Mrs. C, would send me up a dress pattern off this coral pink sample for Celine. This here dark mulberry, Mrs. C, would suit you something immense. That'll be about all." He flopped shut his book, snapping a rubber band about it and inserting it in an inner coat pocket. "You ought to stick to them dark winey shades, Mrs. C. With your coloring and black hair and eyes, they bring you out like a gypsy. Never seen you look better than at the YMHA entertainment." Quick color flowed down her open throat and into her shirtwaist. It was as if the platitude merged with the very corpuscles of the blush that sank down into thirsty soil. "You boys," she said, "come out here and throw in a jolly with every bill of goods. I'll take a good fat discount instead. Fact, never seen you look better. When you got out on the floor in that stamp-your-foot kind of dance with old man Shuloff, your hand on your hip and your head jerking it up, there wasn't a girl on the floor, your own daughter included, could touch you, and I'm giving it to you straight." "That old thing? It's a Russian folk dance my mother taught me the first year we were in this country. I was 3 years old then, and when she just got crazy with homesickness, we used to dance it to each other's evenings on the kitchen floor. Say, have you heard the news?" "No." "Guess." "Can't." "Hammerstein is bringing over the crowned heads of Europe for vaudeville." Mrs. Koblenz moved back a step, her mouth falling open. "Why, Milton Bauer, in the old country a man could be strung up for saying less than that." "That didn't get across. Try another. A Frenchman and his wife were traveling in Russia, and if you had an old mother like mine upstairs, Milton, eating out her heart and her days and her weeks and her months over a husband's grave somewhere in Siberia and a son's grave somewhere in Kishinev, you wouldn't see the joke neither." Mr. Bauer executed a self-administered pat sharply against the back of his hand. "Keep her," he said. "Put me in the brain ward. I'm sorry, Mrs. C. So help me. Didn't mean to. How is your mother, Mrs. C? Seems to me, at the dance the other night, Celine said she was fine and dandy." Celine ain't the best judge of her poor old grandmother. It's hard for a young girl to have patience for old age sitting and chewing all day over the past. It's right pitiful the way her grandmother knows it, too, and makes herself talk English all the time to please the child, and tries to perk up for her. Celine, thank God, ain't suffered and can't sympathize. What's ailing her, Mrs. C? I kind of miss seeing the old lady sitting down here in the store. It's the last year or so, Milt. Just like all of a sudden, a woman as active as Mama always was, her health and her mind kind of went off with a pop. Thoo. Doctor says with care she can live for years, but it seems terrible the way her poor mind keeps skipping back, past all these 30 years in America to even weeks before I was born. The night they took my father off to Siberia with his bare feet in the snow for distributing papers they found on him, papers that use the word svoboda, freedom. And the time 10 years later, they shot down my brother right in front of her for the same reason. She keeps living it over till I could die. Say, ain't that just a shame, though? Living it and living it and living it. The night with me, a heavy 3-year-old in her arms, that she got us to the border, dragging a pack of linens with her. The night my father's feet were bleeding in the snow when they took him. How with me, a kid in the crib, my brother's face was crushed in, with a heel and a spur. All night sometimes she cries in her sleep, begging to go back to find the graves. All day she sits making raffia wreaths to take back. Making wreaths! Say, ain't that tough? It's a godsend she's got the eyes to do it. It's wonderful the way she reads, in English too. There ain't a daily she misses. Without them and the wreaths, I don't know. I just don't know. Is it any wonder, Milt, I can't see the joke? My God, no. I'll get her back, though. Why, she can't get back there, Mrs. C. There's a way. Nobody can tell me there's not. Before the war, before she got like this, $700 would have done it for both of us. And it will again after the war. She's got the bank book, and every week that I can squeeze out above expenses, she sees the entry for herself. I'll get her back. There's a way lying around somewhere. God knows why she should eat her heart out to go back, but she wants it. God, how she wants it. Poor old dame. You boys guide me with my close-fisted buying these last 2 years. It's up to me, Milt, to squeeze this old shebang dry. There's not much more than living in it at best. And now with Celine grown up and naturally wanting to have it like other girls, it ain't always easy to see my way clear, but I'll do it. If I got to trust the store for a year to a child like Celine, I'll get her back. You can call on me, Mrs. C, to keep my eye on things while you're gone. You boys are one crowd of true blues, all right. There ain't a city salesman comes out here I wouldn't trust to the limit. You just try me out. Why, just to show you how a woman don't know many real friends she has got, why, even Mark Hawes of the Mountain City Silk Company, a firm I don't do $200 worth of business with a year. I wish you could have heard him the other night at the YMHA. A man you know for yourself just comes here to be sociable with the trade. Fine fellow, Mark Hawes. When the time comes, Mrs. Coblentz, he says, that you want to make that trip, just you let me know. Before the war, there wasn't a year I didn't cross the water twice, maybe 3 times for the firm. I don't know there's much I can do. It ain't so easy to arrange for Russia, but just the same, you let me know when you're ready to make that trip. Just like that, he said it. That, from Mark Hawes. And a man like Hawes don't talk that way if he don't mean it. Mind you, not $100 a year business with him. I haven't got the demands for silks. That wash silk I'm telling you about, though, Mrs. C, does up like a... There's Ma thumping at the poker on the upstairs floor. When it's closing time, she begins to get restless. I wish Celine would come in. She went out with Lester Goldmark in his little flivver, and I get nervous about automobiles. Mr. Bowers slid an open-faced watch from his waistcoat. Good Lord, 5:40, and I've just got time to sell the Maplehurst Emporium a bill of goods. Good night, Milt. And mind you put up that order of assorted neckwear yourself. Greens and ready ties are good sellers for this time of the year. And put in some reds and purples for the teamsters. No sooner said than done. And come out for supper some Sunday night, Milt. It does Mama good to have young people around. I'm yours. Good night, Milt. He reached across the counter, placing his hand over hers. Good night, Mrs. C, he said, a note lower in his throat. And remember, that call on me stuff wasn't just conversation. Good night, Milt, said Mrs. Coblentz, a coating of husk over her own voice, and sliding her hand out from beneath to top his. You You're all right. Upstairs, in a too-tufted and too-crowded room directly over the frontal half of the store, the window overlooking the remote sea of city was turning taupe, the dusk of early spring, which is faintly tinged with violet, invading. Beside the stove, a base burner with faint fire showing through its mica, the identity of her figure merged with the fat upholstery of the chair, except where the faint pink through the mica lighted up old flesh. Mrs. Miriam Horowitz, full of years and senile with them, wove with grasses the ecru of her own skin, wreaths that had mounted to a great stack in a bedroom cupboard. A clock, with a little wheeze and burring attached to each chime, rang 6, and upon it Mrs. Koblenz, breathing from a climb, opened the door. "Ma, why didn't you rap for Katie to come up and light the gas? You'll ruin your eyes, dearie." She found out a match, immediately lighting 2 jets of a center chandelier, turning them down from singing, drawing the shades of the 2 front and the southeast windows, stooping over the upholstered chair to imprint a light kiss. "A fine day, Mama. There'll be an entry this week, $50.13, and another call for garden implements. I think I'll lay in a hardware line after we get back. I can use the lower shelf of the china table, eh, Ma?" Mrs. Horowitz, whose face, the color of old linen in the yellowing, emerged rather startling from the still black hair strained back from it, lay back in her chair, turning her profile against the upholstered back, half a wreath and a trail of raffia sliding to the floor. It was as if age had sapped from beneath the skin, so that every curve had collapsed to bagginess, the cheeks and the underchin sagging with too much skin. Even the hands were crinkled like 2 large gloves, a wide, curiously etched marriage band hanging loosely from the 3rd finger. Mrs. Koblenz stooped, recovering the wreath. "Say, Mama, this one is a beauty. That's a new weave, ain't it? Here, work some more, dearie, till Celine comes with your evening papers." With her profile still to the chair back, a tear oozed down the corrugated surface of Mrs. Horowitz's cheek. Another. Now, Mama. "I got a heaviness. Here inside, I got a heaviness." Mrs. Koblenz slid down to her knees beside the chair. "Now, Mama. Shame on my little Mama. Is that the way to act when Sheila comes up after a good day? Ain't we got just lots to be thankful for, the business growing, and the bank book growing, and our Celine on top? Shame on Mama." "I got a heaviness. Here inside. Here." Mrs. Koblenz reached up for the old hand, patting it. "It's nothing, Mama. A little nervousness. I'm an old woman. And just think, Sheila's Mama. Mark Haas is going to get us letters and passports and—" "My son, my boy, his father before him." Mama, please don't let a spell come on. It's all right. Sheila's going to fix it. Any day now. Maybe—" "You am a good girl. You am a good girl, Sheila." Tears were coursing down to a mouth that was constantly wry with the taste of them. "And you're a good mother, Mama. Nobody knows better than me how good." "You'm a good girl, Sheila." "I was thinking last night, Mama, waiting up for Celine, just thinking how all the good you've done ought to keep your mind off the spells, dearie." "My son, why, a woman with as much good to remember as you've got oughtn't to have time for spells. I got to thinking about Koblenz today, Mama, how you never did want him, and when I went and did it anyway and made my mistake, you stood by me to the day he died. Never throwing anything up to me, never nothing but my good little mother, working her hands to the bone after he got us out here to help meet the debts he left us. Ain't that a satisfaction for you to be able to sit and think, Mama, how you helped? His feet, blood from my heart in the snow, blood from my heart. The past is gone, darling. What's the use tearing yourself to pieces with it? Them years in New York when it was a fight even for bread, and them years here trying to raise Celine and get the business on a footing, you didn't have time to brood then, Mama. That's why, dearie, if only you'll keep yourself busy with something, the wreaths, His feet, blood from my... But I'm going to take you back, Mama, to Papa's grave, to Alor's. But don't eat your heart out until it comes, darling. I'm going to take you back, Mama, with every wreath in the stack. Only you mustn't eat out your heart in spells. You mustn't, Mama. You mustn't. Sobs rumbled up through Mrs. Horowitz, which her hand to her mouth tried to constrict. For his people he died, the papers. I begged he should burn them, he couldn't. I begged he should keep in his hate, he couldn't. In the square he talked it. The soldiers. He died for his people. They got him, the soldiers. His feet in the snow when they took him, the blood in the snow. Oh, my God, my God. Mama, darling, please don't go over it all again. What's the use making yourself sick? Please. She was well forward in her chair now, winding her dry hands one over the other with a small rotary motion. I was rocking Sheila baby in my lap, stirring on the fire black lentils for my boy. Black lentils. Mama, my boy, like his father before him. Mama, please. Celine is coming any minute now. You know how she hates it. Don't let yourself think back, Mama. A little willpower, the doctor says, is all you need. Think of tomorrow, Mama. Maybe, if you want, you can come down and sit in the store a while and... I was rocking. Oh, my God, I was rocking and... Don't get to it, Mama, please. Don't rock yourself that way. You'll get yourself dizzy. Don't, Ma, don't. Outside, my boy, the holler. Oh, God, in my ear is all my life. My boy, the papers, the swords. Alorf, Alorf. Shh, Mama. It came through his heart out the back, a blade with two sides, out the back when I opened the door. The spur in his face when he fell. Sheila, the spur in his face. The beautiful face of my boy, my Alorf, my husband before him, that died to make free. And fell back, bathed in the sweat of the terrific hiccuping of sobs. Mama, Mama, my God, what shall we do with these spells? You'll kill yourself, darling. I'm going to take you back, dearie. Ain't that enough? I promise. I promise. You mustn't, Mama. These spells, they ain't good for a young girl like Celine to hear. Mama, ain't you got your own Sheila, your own Celine? Ain't that something? Ain't it? Ain't it? Large drops of sweat had come out, and a state of exhaustion that swept completely over, prostrating the huddled form in the chair. With her arms twined about the immediately supporting form of her daughter, her entire weight relaxed, and footsteps that dragged without lift, one after the other, Mrs. Horowitz groped out, one hand feeling in advance, into the gloom of a room adjoining. Rest, oh my God, rest. Yes, yes, Mama, lean on me. My bed. Yes, yes, darling, bed. Her voice had died now to a whimper that lay on the room after she had passed out of it. When Celine Koblenz, with a gust that swept the room, sucking the lace curtains back against the panes, flung open the door upon the chromatic scene. The two jets of gas were singing softly into its silence, and within the nickel-trimmed base burner, the pink mica had cooled to gray. Sweeping open that door, she closed it softly, standing for the moment against it, her hand crossed in back and on the knob. It was as if standing there with her head cocked and beneath a shadowy blue sailor hat, a smile coming out. Something within her was plain, sweetly insistent to be heard. Philomela, at the first sound of her nightingale self, must have stood thus, trembling with melody. Opposite her, above the crowded mantelpiece and surmounted by a raffia wreath, the enlarged crayon gaze of her deceased maternal grandparent, abetted by a horrible device of photography, followed her, his eyes focusing the entire room at a glance. Impervious to that scrutiny, Miss Koblenz moved a tiptoe step or two further into the room, lifting off her hat, staring and smiling through a three-shelved cabinet of knickknacks at what she saw far beyond. Beneath the two jets, highlights in her hair came out, bronze showing through the brown waves and the patches of curls brought out over her cheeks. In her dark blue dress, with the row of silver buttons down what was her hip before the hipless age, the chest sufficiently concave, and the silhouette a mere stroke of hard pencil, Miss Celine Koblenz measured up and down to America's Venus de Milo, whose chief curvature is of the spine, slim-etched, and that slimness enhanced by a conscious kind of collapse beneath the blue silk girdle that reached up halfway to her throat. Hers were those proportions which strong woman, eschewing the sweetmeat, would earn by the sweat of the Turkish bath. When Miss Koblenz caught her eye in the square of mirror above the mantelpiece, her hands flew to her cheeks to feel of the redness. They were soft cheeks, smooth with the pollen of youth, and hands so cased in them. She moved another step toward the portiered door. "Mamma?" Mrs. Koblenz emerged immediately, finger up for silence, kissing her daughter on the little spray of cheek curls. "Shh! Grandma just had a terrible spell." She dropped down into the upholstered chair beside the base burner, the pink and moisture of exertion out in her face, took to fanning herself with the end of a face towel flung across her arm. "Poor Grandma," she said. "Poor Grandma." Miss Koblenz sat down on the edge of a slim, home-gilded chair and took to gathering the blue silk dress into little pleats at her knee. "Of course, if you don't want to know where I've been or anything—" Mrs. Koblenz jerked herself to the moment. "Did Mama's girl have a good time? Look at your dress, all dusty. You oughtn't to wear your best in that little flivver." Suddenly, Miss Koblenz raised her eyes, her red mouth bunched, her eyes all iris. "Of course, if you don't want to know anything." At that large, brilliant gaze, Mrs. Koblenz leaned forward, quickened. "Why, Celine? Well, why don't you ask me something? Why, I don't know, honey. Did you and Lester have a nice ride?" There hung a slight pause, and then a swift moving and crumpling up of Miss Koblenz on the floor beside her mother's knee. "You know, only you won't ask." With her hand light upon her daughter's hair, Mrs. Koblenz leaned forward, her bosom rising to faster breathing. "Why, Celine, we were speeding along, and all of a sudden, out of a clear sky, he popped. He wants it in June, so we can make it our honeymoon to his new territory out in Oklahoma. He knew he was going to pop, he said, ever since the first night he saw me at the YMHA. He says to his Uncle Mark, the very next day in the store, he says to him, 'Uncle Mark,' he says, 'I've met the little girl.' He says he thinks more of my little finger than all his regular crowd of girls in town put together. He wants to live in one of the built-in bed flats on Wasserman Avenue, like all the swell young marrieds. He's making $2,600 now, Mama. And if he makes good in the new Oklahoma territory, his Uncle Mark is going to take care of him better Ain't it like a dream, Mama? Your little Celine all of a sudden in with the somebodies. Immediately, tears were already finding staggering procession down Mrs. Coblenz's face, her hovering arms completely encircling the slight figure at her feet. My little girl, my little Celine, my all. I'll be marrying into one of the best families in town, Ma. A girl who marries a nephew of Mark Haas can hold up her head with the best of them. There's not a boy in town with a better future than Lester. Like Lester says, everything his Uncle Mark touches turns to gold. And he's already touched Lester, one of the best-known men on Washington Avenue for his blood uncle, and on his poor dead father's side, related to the Cats and Harburgers. Was I right, Mama? When you said if you'd only let me stop school, I'd show you? Was I right, Momsy? My baby, it's like I can't realize it. So young. He took the measure of my finger, Mama, with a piece of string. A diamond, he says. Not too flashy, but neat. We have 'em, and we suffer for 'em, and we lose 'em. He's going to trade in the flivver for a chummy roadster, and, oh, darling, it's like I can't bear it. At that, Miss Colburn sat back on her tall wooden heels, mauve spats crinkling. Well, you're a merry little future mother-in-law, Momsy. It ain't that, baby. I'm happy that my girl has got herself up in the world with a fine, upright boy like Lester. Only, you can't understand, babe, till you've got something of your own flesh and blood that belongs to you, that I couldn't feel anything except that a piece of my heart was going if it was a king you was marrying. Now, Momsy, it's not like I was moving 1,000 miles away. You can be glad I don't have to go far, to New York or to Cleveland like Alma Yawitz. I am. Uncle Mark, I guess, will furnish us up like he did Leon and Irma. Only I don't want mahogany. I want Circassian walnut. He gave them their flat silver, too. Puritan design. For an engagement present. Think of it, Mama. Me having that stuck-up Irma Sinsheimer for a relation. It always made her sore when I got chums with Amy at school and got my nose in it with the Acme crowd, and she'll change her tune now, I guess, me marrying her husband's second cousin. Didn't Lester want to come in for a while, Celine, to see me? Sitting there on her heels, Miss Coblentz looked away, answering with her face in profile. Yes, only well, if you want to know it, Mama, it's no fun for a girl to bring a boy like Lester up here in this crazy room. All hung up with Grandma's wreaths, and half the time her sitting out there in the dark, looking in at us through the door and talking to herself. Grandma's an old... End of section 20.